Hi everyone, my name is Kenzie and welcome to this acrylic tutorial. And today we're going to be painting these whales diving in the ocean. So this is a lot of fun to create. We're going to be focusing a lot on blending our colors so that we have a nice soft sunset as well as our ocean down below and highlighting our mountains. So let's get started. So I already have my paints inside of my little mixing plate that I have right here. If you ordered the kit, then it comes with a bunch of the colors. So this is just an example of what you may have at home. So you could just use out of the tubes and then squeeze some of, if you have one of these, onto your plate, or you can just paint out of the tubes. It doesn't really matter, but I just have the bottles, so I'm going to paint this way. I'm going to use my flat head brush and I'm going to get started. For this painting, I'm going to start with my lightest layer first, and I'm going to come in with my daffodil yellow and apply it to my background. And I'm being generous with the amount of paint that I'm using. I'm going to bring it about quarter way down, and I mean a quarter way from the mountains. So about there, I feel it's pretty good. Make sure I'm getting my edges really nice. Notice how I'm going left to right when I'm painting. Coming up over this little mountain. All right, that feels pretty good to me. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a little bit of orange, but I find that this orange is just very bright and vibrant for my taste. So I'm actually going to mix in a little bit of this daffodil yellow into my pure pumpkin orange that I have. Mix a little bit more just to kind of mute it and make it blend in just a little bit more. And you'll see on my brush, it's a little bit of marbling going on, like there is still some yellow with that orange on my brush. That's fine. I never tapped it in my water that I have right here. I'm not dabbing it on my napkin. And then I'm going to start to bring in that orange ever so slightly into my yellow. So we're going to start blending our colors. Now, the most important thing that you can do when you're doing a sky like this is make sure that you're bringing in your orange into your yellow. Otherwise, like right here, you'll just start to have lines. You won't have a very nice blended sky. So because my yellow is still wet, I can just bring in that orange, and you'll see it's already a lot softer of an orange than, let's just say, this one right here. So I'm making sure I'm blending it in, bringing it into my yellow just a little bit. So I have a nice blended sky. Coming in with that more predominant orange color. Bringing that in. I'm going to bring this orange pretty far down. I've got a little bit of yellow right here and blend these colors in. I feel like there's a bit of a line right here, so I'm just blending it out. Bringing in some of that nice light yellow in here a little bit. Bring in a little bit of orange towards the top. So now you'll see I've got no harsh lines. It's just a nice blended sky. I'm going to be careful around my mountain. A little bit more yellow in here. So as I go down, I want to start introducing a little bit more red. And again, I'm going to mix a little bit of this daffodil color I have into the bright red color that I have. And I can just start to introduce that into my orange. And just do the same technique that we did, blending it in. I did not clean off my brush with water yet. Bring in a little bit more yellow, a little bit of orange down here. So just start to get a little bit more trickier to get those nice brush strokes as you get closer to the mountain, because you want to be careful not to go in it, but if you do, it's really not the end of the world. That's the cool thing about acrylic, is if you don't like something, you let that layer dry and then you paint over top and it's as if it never happened. I do want to go a little bit more lighter towards the bottom, so I'm adding a little bit more yellow here. And down here as well. Okay, so I'm going to bring in a little bit of white into this color, this little orangey color. Make sure it's blended. And I'm going to bring this in towards the bottom as well. I'm going to kind of blot around a little bit just to kind of give a little bit of a cloudy effect. Bring that up a little bit. I'm going to mix up a little bit more of a predominant red and bring that into some areas in my sky. Okay, I feel pretty happy about this, so I'm gonna clean off my brush finally. Make sure I get all that color off. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna come around and paint our ocean. So when we're doing this, we want the outer edges to be darker than right in here towards our middle. We want that to be kind of our light zone. So I'm gonna come in and mix my peacock blue. I'm gonna bring it into the center of my plate. I'm gonna tap in a little bit of my black just to mix up a more moodier blue. The black was really strong, so I'm gonna add a little bit more of that peacock blue until I find a nice dark color that I'm happy with. All right, now the blue is a little too strong, so I'm just coming in with a little bit of a dot of a black. A little bit darker. All right. So, like I said, I'm gonna come out towards my edges and have that darker color. And same thing as before, I have a couple different shades of blue on my brush. It's not just one color. And I'm doing my edges first. So if you are confident with your drawing ability, you could paint over this and then you can just freehand your little, your whales again. I am gonna do that, so I'm gonna cover what I have. If you are not confident that you're gonna be able to freehand and paint your whales, just go around it. I'm gonna show you guys both ways, okay? So I'm gonna cover my whales. Again, don't do this if you don't think you're gonna be able to paint your whales. And then as I get up here, I want my strokes to be a little bit smaller than down here. Now the reason why I decided to paint over my whale is because I want there to be just nice cohesive brush strokes, some nice brush strokes that blend and flow really well. All right, now I can start introducing some lighter colors. So I'm gonna bring my blue neon into the blue that I have, and I'm gonna, same thing as the sky, I'm gonna mix it into the blue. And then I'm gonna start mixing in some lighter shades of blue. So I'm gonna bring in these colors. mix some white into it. So now I have a little bit more of a creamier blue. So just mixing different types of blues in your water. Coming in and mixing a nice light creamy white and blue together. And having these colors blend. And I'm kind of doing like almost squiggly lines as well at this point to look like there's little waves. I'm gonna come in with a little bit more of that darker color. All right, so once you have your blue down that you're pretty happy with, we can now come in with some white. So I'm gonna get rid of everything on my brush. At this point in the video, technology did me dirty and cut out part of the video, but what I did next was I just got some white and a little bit of the sky color, and I was able to do some ripples in the ocean, which you'll see in the next part. I just caught a glitch in my camera. So I have painted this one and a little bit of this one. So what I did was I just mixed a little bit of black into the darker ocean color that we use right here, and I painted my mountain, and then I just mixed some white into that color to make a nice blue gray that I'm now using for my middle mountain. Sorry about that. Technology can be so fun. So I am painting along my mountain, and we can even change the shape of our mountains a little bit if you're not happy with them. If you want to add more mountains, you can definitely do that. So I'm going to come, get pretty close to the edge over here, and add that gray color towards this mountain. All right. I'm going to let this one dry and this one dry a little bit more, and then I'm going to add a second layer before I put in my highlights. So now, using the same color as before, I'm going to mix a nice lighter blue color. I want it to be a mix of a light blue gray. Maybe just directly add a little bit of that blue neon into it. Okay, cool. So now what I can do is I can start to freehand some of my little whales down here. So using this round tip brush again, I am going to freehand my whales. If you have not freehanded your whales, you can just come in and paint yours. I can actually still see a bit of my ink mark in mine. So I'm gonna come in and paint them. And I'm not gonna worry about the white part. I'm just gonna paint all of the whale. And I haven't let my canvas down here dry completely. So I'm gonna let this black dry, and I can even paint another layer over top. but I kind of like that it's not just a completely solid black color. I'm gonna come in and just paint all of it black. It's a little thin. And his other fin. And the back fin. Now I've got a nice big black blob in the middle of my canvas. Okay, now I'm going to come in and do my back one. Doing its fin to its body. One of the things that I love the most about acrylic is how forgiving acrylic is. I love that I'm able to paint over top my colors and there's no bleeding on the canvas. I love if I make a mistake, I can let it dry and try again. That's something you don't get with watercolor. I usually only paint with watercolor, so I love this. I love this medium now too. All right, so what I want to do is I also want to let my little whale dry a little bit before I'm coming in and adding any extra dimension to these whales. So what I can do is just some like little fun details around it. So I can come in with a little bit of white and just add some nice splashes because this whale looks like it's diving. I can come in and just make some little splashes around. Even this little back around this one in here and back here as well. Just want to put a little bit more splash in the back. Okay, so I'm gonna jump now back to my mountain and mix up that dark blue color that I had before, and I'm going to come in and just do that second layer I talked about earlier. And now this looks really bold. I love it. Okay, I can come in with this nice light gray and do a second layer. I can even leave certain areas untouched if I'd like. Or we can completely cover it. Okay, and then this back one, I'm gonna throw another layer over top as well. All right. So now to bring our mountains to life, we can add our highlights, which is basically just adding some nice white onto our canvas. And because this is still wet from that second layer that I just did, we'll also get some nice blending as well. So I'm just gonna come in and start to kind of blot around, and I can already see that it's turning a gray, which is fine. I'm just gonna blot. I'm gonna come down here and then just add a nice highlight. Over here, I'm gonna add a little highlight as if like the hills are rolling down. And then over here as well. And I can also come in with a lighter bit of blue If you want to add some lighter blue parts to the mountain, I'm gonna come in with more white up here. I'm gonna add some white just on this side of the mountain. Right in here. And towards my top in here as well, I'll add a little bit of white for a nice pop and highlight in my mountain. And then inside my white, I can add that reflection into my mountain a little bit. So this is supposed to look like a little bit of a snowy bank at the top of the mountains here. And with snow, it absorbs colors around it, so it's going to be absorbing that sunset color. It's going to make this a little bit of a stronger white. Okay, so my well's still not 100% dry. But I can come in and just add more black. Okay, so for these back ones, I'm gonna come in with my white again. And I'm just gonna have my little whale spot on it. And I have a thick amount of white on my brush, so I'm trying to just get it to sit on top since this whale is definitely not dry. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of a highlight on top of my whale and around the little fin area in here with a little bit of gray on my brush. I'm gonna do the same for this part. Just adding a little bit of highlight. And then with this little whale, I'm gonna come in and start to kind of outline where its white tummy is. And it is gonna turn gray because my painting is not 100% dry, but it'll give me a good idea as to where I want the tummy to be. I want this part to be fin. Okay. So with that gray color, I'm gonna come in and kind of highlight right in here, just to give a little bit of separation between the fin and the body. Give it a nice highlight with a gray right in here. Get a little bit of highlight right in here. So you guys can wait until your painting is 100% dry, or if you're like me and you don't have patience, I'm just gonna layer a thick amount of white over top. To make it white. Again, this is the one thing I love about acrylic, because I could not do this with watercolor. It would ruin the whole painting. All right, so I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'm gonna do a second layer of my white. So my white is now dry, it's been a couple minutes, and I am gonna come in and just kind of cover up any type of gray that might be lingering through. If you had patience, you probably don't have to do this second step, but I did not have patience. I just wanted to put the color down. All right, so I'm looking around, seeing if there's anything else I want to add to my painting, but honestly, I feel pretty good about this. So I am going to say that I am finished. I hope that you had fun and learned some fun techniques along the way. Happy painting.